This 10th year anniversary of Big Data London, how is it going to be different?
It's going to be manic. It's going to be AI madness, as far as I can see. Last year, we were getting into the beginnings of agentic. This year, it'll be agents everywhere. Everything from classic BI tools. It's not just about copilots. It's going to be really about multi-agent capability built into tools. We're going to see a whole raft of new technologies. We're going to see, a big push on agentic data governance.
Is there any particular speaker that you're most excited about, something that you absolutely cannot miss?
Shamak Dungani will be coming in this year. She's going to talk about the apparent redundancy of the term data mesh. And because she's the person that wrote a white paper that went viral, Carly Taylor, and she's going to talk about gaming and AI and big data and in gaming. Of course, our closing keynote, we do have the Professor Brian Cox, a physicist that knows all that there is to know about how not just data, how computing is used, how data is used. He'll be talking about quantum computing, and we're looking at the universe as a quantum computer.
Welcome to the Don't Panic, It's Just Data podcast, where we have a weekly conversation with people impacting the enterprise tech landscape. My name is Shubhangi Dua, a podcast producer and B2B tech journalist at EM360 Tech, and I will be your host today. This podcast, I have the pleasure of speaking with Michael Ferguson, CEO of Intelligent Business Strategies and Conference Chair at Big Data London, and Palesa Amadi, the Conference Manager of Big Data London as well. So in this episode, we will be talking about the data event of the year, Big Data London, taking place from September 24th to 25th. And there's also a special treat on the day before, the 23rd of September. So you better be there. We'll get all the insider details about this year's conference, which is particularly special as it's their 10th anniversary. So congratulations, both.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been
Thank
a long,
you.
it's been a phenomenal journey.
So let's just get straight into it. Maybe, Mike, I would like to start with you.
Sure.
In this 10th year anniversary of Big Data London, how is the organization balancing its traditional focus on data and analytics especially with the increasing market swing towards AI technologies? And we've seen the AI advancement from last year too. It was heavily highlighted at the event last year. How is it going to be different this year, especially with like agentic AI in the market? And what should we be expecting?
It's going to be manic. It's going to be AI madness, as far as I can see. Last year, I guess we were getting into the beginnings of agentic. This year, it'll be agents everywhere. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they're walking up and down the aisles, to be honest. It'll be in pretty well every software product that's on show on the exhibition floor. You're going to see AI agents in there. Yeah, everything from classic BI tools, which now have AI agents to automatically analyze for you and kind of like tell you what's going on, rather than you having to figure it out yourself. You're going to have it baked into all kinds of data management tools to try and speed up your ability to get jobs done quicker and be able to kind of conquer complex tasks and things like that. So to try and, if you like, put oil on the wheels and make it much easier to use these kinds of tools, which will kind of open them up to a lot more kinds of users with lesser skills, perhaps, because they're just now using natural language prompts to just guide these tools. So yeah, but I think it's not just about copilots. It's going to be really about multi-agent capability built into tools. We're going to see a whole raft of new technologies, but I think a lot of the classic technologies we'll see AI agents added to kind of allow people to, as I said, to be more productive. We're going to see a big push on I guess, agentic data governance, because that's such a complex problem that we need automation and simplification to be able to do it. Because we're now dealing with data scattered all over the place in multiple clouds and on-prem and things like that. So that's going to be a huge topic in its own right. We're going to see, I think, agentic data management, if you like, even built into databases. We're going to see, as I said, analytical AI agents. We're going to see, may even be the emergence of what I would call AI apps, because since last year's show, we've seen the emergence of something called MCP servers, which allow you to kind of make use of other agents and tools that are outside of your applications and things like that. And it also makes it very easy for applications to start talking to other agents, so agents within apps to talk to other ones in other parts of the enterprise. So a whole new era is going to open up there, really at the very, very beginning of it. And I suppose, the challenge of governing all of that, because we're going to end up with hundreds, if not thousands, of these things within the enterprise going forward. So yeah, I expect it to be very heavily, AI dominated, but also all of that will not just mean brand new technologies; it'll mean baked in to the existing tools that we've been using over the years as well.
While we know a lot of Gen AI and AI based tools have failed in the past, there's like 80% of AI fails projects, I believe, last year. But at this event, you should know that you will be getting the best of it.
100%, 100%.
So, Palesa, can I ask you about the details of some of the new theaters that you have and how content has been carved up this year to help the attendees? And especially in terms of, like, I suppose, the people who are attending the show, how should they navigate according to their areas of interest, especially as Big Data London celebrates its 10th year anniversary?
Yeah, I mean, it is a massive show. We've already kind of established that it will be manic, it will be crazy. But in kind of the enthusiastic event way, there will just be a lot of kind of buzz in the air. And when it comes to theaters and the renaming or application of theater names, we've had to really jump on the AI bandwagon. Just yesterday, I had to add another AI theater because I've had so much AI content come through, and you just kind of have to look at what kind of AI there is. And there's some things, some trends that have kind of some themes and topics that have gone off trend for now, and so we've had to change kind of what they look like. So instead of data mesh and data fabric, we've got data products theater this year. So we've got data products and data fabric. So we'll see how that goes because everyone's just using a bit more of that term now. We've also got a streaming, analytics, and decision automation theatre, which is a mouthful. We love mouthfuls at Big Data London. So we've also got the data architecture modernization theatre. I've got the Gen AI, app intelligence, and AI agents, of course, theatre. And we've added a couple more that are obviously not AI related, but I think need to be spoken about. We've got a theatre that's data for good this year. And so that will just be looking at sessions that are, just not typically what you think data would be used for. Things like not just healthcare, but charity, education. And so I've got a session in there about how big data is being used to feed the world, just finding out what populations need food, where poverty exists, etc. So, things like that. I think they're interesting, not typical session content that you would hear at a conference like ours, but it's also lovely to get in. And we've also got the VIP theatre this year, and that's just catering to, the higher level attendees that can come in that have maybe more, not necessarily more technical knowledge, but have more access, I would say, in companies, CTOs and CDOs that have more access to this kind of data, but don't necessarily know how to use it maybe, or don't know where to go. So they will have kind of that content that's catered towards them and their positions in companies. And just yesterday, I said I changed the theatre name. I had to. So I've added a theatre name called Modern Analytics and AI and BI Theatre because we've have so much AI content, and I've had to go, well, how can we how can we accommodate all the content that everyone wants to speak about without having it an AI show? Because it's not an AI show. It is data, it's big data, it's analytics, and it is AI. And the data part is important because that is what feeds into AI. You don't have good AI agents, you don't have good products, you don't have any of that stuff if you've got terrible data. Is what I've been told. I'm not an expert on this on the subject. What I've been told. But yeah, when it comes to how we're carving out the sessions and the speakers, we've got a call for papers. So we've had submissions through our call for papers. And when I say submissions, I mean submissions. My waiting list at the moment is at 179 speakers. That's just this year. I've still got loads from last year as well. So and I'll probably have to add these two lists together for next year and just look at that. So it's a good problem to have. So it's a massive show. It's a very popular show. The content, it's a learning show. It's also accessible because it's a free to attend show, and that means that we are going to get people that are engineers and analysts, and we'll have people that are students and some people that just have an interest in the show, right? And so it's important that we have content that's accessible on all these levels. So if you are someone that is interested in understanding the basics of data analytics, you know that you can go to an analytics theater and there will be sessions on the basics as well as the advanced stuff. So the more technical stuff. So my role is really making sure that it's democratic.
There's so much going on in this sector. We had to carve it up to really put some clarity on it, in order to be able to allow people coming from different backgrounds to go to the stuff that, that they want to know about, and make sure also that we've covered the spectrum, in order to make sure that, everything's there that needs to be there. So, yeah, in that sense, and I think that's been one of the strengths of Big Data London over the years, is we've really gone out to clearly label things. Admittedly, as I said, as Palesa said, AI has kind of gone bonkers. But we've even added, last year was data strategy theater, now it's data and AI strategy theater. Last year was data governance theater, now it's data and AI governance theater. So, it's coming in everywhere, but nevertheless, yeah, we're trying to obviously, one or two changes, like as Palesa said, the data products. But I think modern data architecture is also a big deal, because there's been a lot in the last year, absolutely massive announcements over the last year since 2024 show, making a big difference there. So I think there'll be a lot of interest in all that stuff.
One of the things we have as well at Big Data London is that we're not afraid to add a new theatre. If you are interested in analytics, we've got 3 analytics theatres this year. So you will be able to kind of look at specifics of data analytics. We've got data engineering. And this year, we've got a total of 16 theatres. And I might add 2 more, who knows? So we've got quite a few theatres this year.
Are you going to put those on the street, or where are we putting them?
Yeah, I'll put them at the train station and tap in and come in.
You said data for good, right? Is there anything about sustainable data, especially now that the market is kind of focusing on how AI is not really sustainable with data centers? And so is there anything like that also in the picture?
Yeah, I mean, on our Data for Good stage, we've got a fair bit of sustainability themed sessions are going to come on, and we've added actually someone to our steering group that's very passionate about sustainability, and she's going to come in and lead on that in that theatre. So yeah, it's definitely where we're headed, and it's good to keep an eye on that part of the industry as it grows. And it's important that we have sessions and content that reflects how we try to make the industry more sustainable. But yeah, so Data for Good will be looking into sustainability as well. And I do have a sustainability session specifically.
Perfect. I can't wait to attend this year's show. It sounds like it's going to be massive. 10th year, so of course it has to be. So this brings me to my next question. Given that data governance is critical for AI, and we've just literally touched upon that, what are some of the key challenges do organizations face in making their data AI ready, and how will BDL address this technically? So maybe Michael, do you want to go for it?
Yeah, for me, I mean, obviously everyone talks about data quality, but I mean, data governance has expanded hugely to incorporate data privacy and access security and retention and sharing and everything. So that's a very big umbrella now, data governance. But there's no question that it's more than data quality that companies have to worry about. One of the big concerns for a lot of corporates, particularly heavily regulated ones, is the whole idea of not making things like sensitive data available to generative AI because they don't want to accidentally expose things that shouldn't be exposed. They need to remain compliant with all the regulations. So I think things like filtering out sensitive data before you make data AI ready will mean that you're able to avoid those kind of issues. As I said, data quality is always important. I think as well, making these generative AI models aware of enterprise data is the big deal, which is why we have to get data in an AI ready state. I think what we're going to see is data integration tools have added this capability. Databases have added this capability to make, to create something called vectors, from traditional data, from structured data or semi-structured or even now unstructured data, so that data that can be used by generative AI models in order to become aware of it. And I think as well, also the whole idea of knowledge graphs is a big deal in making these models aware. I think that there's an AI governance element to this to make sure that there's guardrails in place and filtering of sensitive data and whatnot. So there's nothing revealed that shouldn't be revealed, if you like, to remain compliant there. And then also, of course, there's the data quality side, but really big changes. Just in a year, almost every major database now has got vector data types added in. So you don't have to have necessarily special purpose databases for that, even though those are around. Um, and of course the whole idea of understanding relevant data right across the enterprise is really means that we're building these uh, pipelines in order to create these vectors to make Gen AI aware of it. So I think all of that's really going on, but I think it's going to have to be. I think what rather than people trying to take all of their data in one kind of go, I think what we are seeing is a lot of companies kind of creating what I would call knowledge bases, for specific parts of the enterprise in order, that so they can make use of large language models for very specific purposes rather than trying to boil the ocean and make everything available.
They're also switching a lot to like small language models now, SLMs mainly, and focusing so much on just good quality data and real time AI for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, the latency of data is definitely getting lower. But certainly, that takes you into changes to architecture and engineering and stuff like that as well going on. But I mean, without a doubt, yes. I mean, clearly, but I do think the divide and conquer approach is the way it's happening, as opposed to this kind of boil the ocean with all your data kind of thing. So but yeah, I mean, the priorities in which use cases are coming out, different enterprises got different um, priorities for their use cases, and that will kind of dictate, what knowledge bases and whatnot get created first in order to be able to implement those use cases and start driving value with them.
Absolutely. So, how has Big Data London specifically worked to improve the speaker quality based on the advancements we've seen in the industry lately? And how are you ensuring valuable in-depth sessions? Probably, like I would say, how have you selected your priority speakers as we just referred to before this?
My advisory board has been very helpful in this, to be honest. I mean, I try my best to stay on trend. I talk to Mike all the time. I talk to people on our advisory board just to understand what is not only what is trending, but what is important to discuss as we get closer to the show, but also what has been, some markers and things that we have to kind of hit that have happened throughout the year that maybe Big Data London would need to kind of look into. And so when I look at our call for papers, there are some things, there will be recurring themes, of course, agentic AI. Things like healthcare has been a recurring one. Data governance, data and AI governance, because of agentic AI, has been really important to look at how people are going to be. What are the ethics around it? What kind of quality is going to be surrounding the data? So I'm becoming an expert. I know I said I'm not, but I'm definitely learning a lot more about the industry and becoming more and more knowledgeable about what is important to discuss. And so when I look at the speakers and the speaker quality, it is about have they spoken before, and am I confident in their ability to deliver? So I look at their previous work if they have. I look at their LinkedIn profiles. I look at their followings if they have one. I look at the work they've done before, as well as the quality of what they've submitted to me. So some people are first-time speakers, and because I think it is important to be democratic and give people a shot, but that's based on the content of what they've submitted. So if someone has submitted something that I think actually this is worth discussing and it's worth us speaking about, you might just give them a shot.
Is there any one particular speaker that you're most excited about and would want people to just definitely attend, something that you absolutely cannot miss?
Okay, I've got 3 off the top of my head.
It's very nice for you to mention me there, Palesa.
Yeah, I'm glad that you preempted that. I'm always happy to hear Mike, because Mike comes with the knowledge of the whole industry. Mike's got a 360 view of everything, and so it's great because he opens up the conference. So at the very beginning of the show, you have Mike kind of go, well, what's happened in the world of data, AI, and strategy this year, and analytics? Sorry, this year. I'm also really looking forward to Jamak this year. So Jamak Dungani will be coming in this year to do. Well, she's going to come in to do our pre-show conference, which we'll talk about in a bit. But she's going to come in to talk about the apparent redundancy of the term data mesh, and because she's the person that wrote a white paper that went viral and kind of made her the name that's associated with data mesh. And so I'm quite excited to hear her speak and fight her corner, so to speak. So there's another lady actually that this is a gamer. Her name is Carly Taylor, and she's going to talk about gaming and AI and big data and in gaming. And gaming is one of the places where data is so crucial, is so vital, and not the only, but the biggest reason why gaming becomes so popular and has even advanced to where it is now is because of the data and how they utilize their data. And I think a lot of the industry would be they could learn from that sector as well. I said a third person. I can't remember now off the top of my head. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to those 2 ladies. There's 2 panels actually that I've put together that I'm excited. Well, I'm intrigued to see what comes out of it now, because we've got AI agents. I've got 2 AI panels with and there'll be agentic AI, and the other one's going to be looking at sort of large and small language models, AIs. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes out of that, whether there's any contradictions and what people are saying about what to expect over the next 10 years. It has been 10 years of big data. I don't think we're going to have to wait 10 years to see any advancement in AI. I think we'll see something in the next 4 or 5 months, to be honest. So those are the things that I'm really looking forward to. There's probably more. There's lots more, but that's just off the top of my head what I'm looking forward to hearing.
And of course, our closing keynote, maybe you should mention.
Yes, and of course, our closing keynote. So for our closing keynote, we do have the Professor Brian Cox, and he is, a physicist that knows all that there is to know about how not just data, how computing is used, how data is used, everything that you need to know about how they gather data from all the telescopes and all the spacecrafts that are out there gathering data to inform us about what's happening in space and on our planet as well. And so he'll be talking about quantum computing, and we're looking at the universe as a quantum computer, as the quantum computer. And so he'll be dissecting that. And I heard him speak before. So the thing that I love about him is he has the ability to make you feel like you understand absolutely anything. And I don't know a lot, but I also do know a lot. And when you go and listen to him speak, he makes you feel like you understand the universe. And he breaks it down to where even a 5-year-old can understand. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is that he makes the very complex sound so very simple. And he makes us understand that. So I'm really looking forward to understanding, what does he mean that the universe is a quantum computer? What even is a quantum computer? And and how do the two correlate? And how does that feed into what's happening in data and AI right now?
Well, I am actually really excited about that talk, and I don't plan on missing it at all, because I feel like quantum computing is where we are headed now. Like, that's the next big thing. Like, there is this AI wave, but I think there's a quantum computing wave coming. How do you see data engineering and data architecture changing organizations? And how will Big Data London address this from a technical perspective? I feel like, Michael, you kind of did touch up on that.
These are two big, what's that, foundation stones of Big Data London over the years, in a way. I would say, data engineering has dramatically changed. I mean, I guess with Zhamak being here this year is kind of interesting, because in a way she kind of broke the mold on the way we were doing data engineering with the writings about data mesh. So that's switched the whole focus to kind of incrementally building up these things, data, rather than trying to, find all data that's needed, for particular analytical systems. And so we're now in a world of data products, and so and the democratization of data engineering around the enterprise, because there's so much demand for it that IT couldn't do it on its own. So clearly, now that we've got AI going in there in order to generate these pipelines, to be able to do data engineering. So it's simplifying the task of data engineering, if you like. But we're clearly going to see data products everywhere. We've not also seen the emergence of data marketplaces to be able to publish those in. I think as from an architecture perspective, I can think back to the 2022 show and the 2023 show, where every vendor out there was coming up with a different architecture to do all of this. And it's been a bit of a sort of architecture wars going on. But I think a couple of things have happened there. Big changes, I think, since the emergence of something called open tables, something called Iceberg and Delta Lake and things like that. So kind of what's called a medallion approach of bronze, silver, and gold, if you like, sort of staging of data to produce data products, but storing them there, because rather than having to build data for every different analytical system, now we can build these and put them in open tables to be shared across multiple systems. So data architecture is changing dramatically to kind of simplify it. But also, I think, huge demand, as I said a little bit earlier, about lowering the latency between operational transactional data and analytical data. And even there, in the last year, since the last year's show, huge announcements from Databricks and Snowflake, for example, making acquisitions. And Microsoft weighed in earlier this year in their huge announcements to kind of introduce, if you like, transactional data on the same kind of tables as analytical data. So really, almost as soon as data lands into these open tables, is almost instantly available for analysis. And so really changing this to lower the latency as much as possible, and allow people to start getting access to practically near real time, if not, well, it won't be true real time, but pretty darn close to it, to be able to analyze things there. And I think as well, with so many decisions and everything being made in operations, I think that's why the streaming analytics and decision automation field is there, in order to address that, to be able to start to see people delegating, let's say, high volume transactions where you can't wait for people to make decisions, those kind of, or high volume decisions. If there's thousands and thousands of decisions that need to be made, then we're going to see automation around that. And so there's I think a big interest around that. And there's a new term emerging out of there called decision intelligence. So absolutely action packed. I think from a kind of platform perspective, I think data fabric has probably won that battle. And so again, I think, some of the biggest data fabric vendors on the planet will be at the show this year. So yeah, pretty exciting space to be in. And of course, everywhere you go in data, AI will be baked in everywhere. Big announcement this year is the fact that Google has, for the very first time, decided to take top sponsorship slot at Big Data London, which is an enormous thing, to have that. And so what we're really now seeing is the largest vendors on earth turning up at the show, and so that for me kind of cements Big Data London as a global event. I mean, it's not just a UK show; it's a global show, and in the 10-year journey since we started out in a small room within Olympia Convention Center to where we are now. I mean, that's an amazing journey, and I think everybody who's participated in that, deserves a pat on the back in that regard. But yeah, it'll be really exciting to see them, to see Microsoft there. IBM's been there in for many years as well, and to get these really large vendors now appearing is very, very exciting. And people coming in at very senior levels from those organizations. So super exciting time.
Definitely. So, we're coming to the end of the podcast now. I do have one last question for both of you. What are some of the key technical lessons attendees can learn from successful or even challenging real world data and AI implementations that will be featured at the conference?
If you're interested in learning about how the world of architecture modernization is going to be affected, we've got a theatre for that. So you can make a beeline straight for that theatre and stay in there all day if you want to, and learn all the intricacies that there is about that. If you're interested in BI, we've got a theatre for that. You can stay in that all day and learn, from the basics all the way to the most advanced. And what I didn't mention, now that we're at the end, is we do have a pre-show conference, and I should have been banging on about this. So on the 23rd, so Big Data London is from the 24th to the 25th. But this year, because we are celebrating 10 years, we are launching a pre-show conference. It's called Data Driven London. That will be on the 23rd of September, and it will be at the Clayton Hotel in Chiswick, and that's a separate thing. And that one is aimed at our high value visitors, is what we're calling them. So people like CDOs and CTOs and people that are at that level but need to get more knowledge or understand things a bit more in depth. And we'll really be diving deep into, things like agentic AI, which is obviously the top topic of the day, and the data governance. So we'll be looking at products again. And Mike is going to be chairing the entire event. So he'll be, spreading his knowledge everywhere, making sure that the whole thing is cohesive. And we've got Shamak coming again to be our keynote speaker at that event, and to talk about data products and data mesh in the age of AI. So we're really trying to touch every single technical point this year, and we're trying to offer as much as we can at every level, from the most advanced to the most entry level.
As well, getting real practical guidance. I mean, there's some great use cases, case studies in there. What works, what doesn't work. I think some of the methodologies about how do you practically implement these things. What to avoid, what to focus on. That'll be true both in Data Driven London and the theatres. But I mean, clearly, I think by carving up such a huge sector into really kind of very focused theaters, it really helps. Plus, I think as well, not to forget, the kind of overarching theater, if you like, the data and AI strategy theater, which is really kind of, for people who got overall responsibility for all of this. How on earth do they kind of implement all of this right across their enterprise to deliver value? And so there'll be sessions in there about what should be in your data and AI strategy, and how to align it with your business strategy to make sure that you're really focused on driving value on very high priority outcomes, within a business, so that companies are seen to being, putting this stuff to work to really make a difference for the organizations that they work in. And so yeah, I mean, I think all of those guidelines, deep dives in data driven London as well, and hopefully, um, a theater program that allows people to systematically get what they want to cover all the bases that they need.
It sounds like that it not only helps big organizations, small organizations, but also young entrepreneurs who are just getting started in this particular industry. So it is an event for everybody: vendors, end users, big companies, small companies, individuals, enthusiasts, everybody. Thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of today's insightful discussion. Thank you so much, Mike and
Thank
Palesa, for
you.
sharing your invaluable expertise and perspectives with us today. For more information on what we've talked about, which is Big Data London, the event of the year, do not forget that. Please head on over to bigdataldn.com. We'll be back with another episode soon on our podcast series. Until then, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms and follow the conversation on our socials at EM360 Tech and on X and LinkedIn. For more great daily content, please head on over to em360tech.com.